we're here at ChiroMafia. Dr. Joe, my brother, the Dom, is just chilling on the beach like always.
Yeah.
And I got the healed background, spiritually based system to fill your soul purpose, right? And so anyway, I didn't tell him what we were going to talk about, but here's what I want to talk about. I'm doing a 5-day challenge. It's really how I master my practice and double my retention in 90 days. And here's what it is. Here's the most important question. If you can answer day one, ask 3 questions. And when you can answer these questions and make your answers absolutely mandatory, you're going to make an impact. We can change healthcare. So first question, what's your purpose? Why are you a chiropractor? And it's not because, well, I thought it was a good job or, I got injured. No. So what I want to start with first, Psalm 139:16. You saw my days before they were formed. So imagine you're in heaven, you're in that spirit world, and you're looking at a movie trailer of your life, and you're like, put me in, man. I want to live in this body. I want to make a difference. I want to bring heaven to earth. And you came in as a chiropractor. Now, how you found chiropractic is your human story. Your spiritual story is you came in. You were called. You chose. Here you are. Now, what are you going to do about it?
Right.
So what I want to know is when you found the principle, what became your purpose?
Yeah.
You personally.
Oh,
No,
me,
you.
you're asking me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Fred, I apologize. I thought you were being rhetorical there for a minute.
Well, it was a great rhetorical
What was
question.
it was a great question. Mine was a slow, steady. So mine was, I had much more of the principle before I went into school. I got it kind of beaten out of me with the school system. So I was less of a chiropractor when I came out, and then found my way back because of a great mentor, Reggie. So it definitely became what I did was effective to help people. And I was still kind of stuck in that allopathic, deal
No,
with
man, when you
ailments.
found, you knew that you understood the principle, but if it was in your beingness, you would have never lost it in school. So you
Yes.
found the principle, the true print, and lived the principle
Yes.
with Reggie. So at that point, what became your purpose?
Literally to elevate the health and experience, like the human experience of every man, woman, and child. I mean, in the end, that's really what it was. I really got to the point where you're a better version of what you were intended to be if you're connected neurologically to life, to innate, to the vital force, to the expression of God. So in the end, that's what it became. If you're not getting adjusted, you are disconnected, separate, or in some way diluted from the connection to spirit, God, energy, intelligence. If you are less subluxated or clear, then you are a clear representation of what you were, and therefore your experience at every level as a human being was better.
So because you're conscious of your divine self, then you have a greater human experience. You have a human experience on
Correct.
another level.
Correct.
Cool.
On the level it
Awesome.
was intended.
Yeah. So now, really, so an adjustment and a patient was to help them be the highest form of who God created them to be.
Correct.
Now, on that level, man, that is such a loving level that level of consciousness, when you radiate and communicate that level of consciousness, people are automatically gravitated toward it. Why? Because they're creating likeness and image of God. So when you speak, and this is what I tell my clients, and this is what you're saying, even though you may not have used these words,
Sure.
you're actually speaking to their heart and spirit.
100%.
You're not speaking to their frontal lobe.
Yes.
Frontal lobe's patient education. Now, you may
Yes.
call it patient education because we were conditioned on those words, but that's not what you are doing. You are calling them to become greater than they think they are.
Correct. They
There
didn't
you
even
go.
know that you don't know. And they're not going to, Yeah, when I say they're not going to get it, it didn't mean I didn't use words to lead them, as I know you did the same. You know, I wasn't trying to get them. My goal wasn't to make them a chiropractor. I didn't. My goal wasn't to try to get them to use the language, but I did want to lead them to the understanding that there's a healing force and energy. That's why I was using the plant example on our Monday night. We have the Monday night show the plant. Why is the plant sick? You know, what are you going to do? I'm going to give it water. I'm going to give it sun. But why is the plant sick? Why did the plant get sick? You know, I give it water, I give it sun, I give it nutrients. Okay, great. What happens to it? It gets better. Why? That's the question. Why does it get better? Why does it get better? And that's where, you know, they start to at least taste, touch, feel. There's some energy, there's some force. It's designed. There's something inside there that's inherent that allows it to express itself. In fact, the only way it knows to be, if I give it what it's supposed to be, is healthy. It doesn't know of any other way to be other than perfectly healthy. So guess what? You're the same thing. You have that same force, that same energy, that same gift, that breath of God that's within you, and you don't know of any other way. Your body, you don't have to think about like, oh my God, wait, don't talk to me. I got to make a liver cell right now. Like your body's doing it automatically, right? So it doesn't know of any other way to do it other than perfect if the environment and the connection to innate is there. So my goal was to get them to think somewhat like that, to talk, and then every time they come in to nurture that conversation.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you another question. So, I mean, when you got out of school and you didn't really have the principle and you're in your head and you had an allopathic model, you were probably trying to build a practice.
Yes.
But that's why you struggled.
Yes.
When you got the message to help as many people, and especially families,
Yes.
to connect with God within themselves, were you trying to build a practice or were you trying to elevate the consciousness of humanity?
Yeah. So what happens, like you're saying, and you already know because you're taking me down this path. That's what happened. And again, I will tell you when there were two moments that I really started to get it because I didn't get it. I got it, but I didn't get it. I was adjusting people one day and we were flat out busy, just crazy busy. And no one was talking about symptoms. When I say no one, like 95%, no one said, I
Yeah,
heard, I don't feel good,
they're not
whatever.
complaining.
And I wasn't done with what I was going to do as the adjust. And I know you've gone through this yourself, Fred. I wasn't done adjusting them, so-called, in what I wanted to do. And they were jumping off the table. You know, so I got in and maybe I did a thoracic or I did a side posture, and they were like, "Oh man, that was great!" You know, body's working better, power on, whatever words I was using in those moments, and they would just leave. And they, you know, and at first I would kind of fight, like, "Wait, I'm not done." And other times I realized, like, you know, I'm not going to fight it. Like, you know, they're telling me something. Like, I need to let myself kind of loose and let myself go with the flow. And so that was
So
one of
you had
those.
to learn from them.
Yes, there was a realization. I literally realized in those moments, and you know, because you've been there yourself, like
Yeah.
you get into the zone, right? And so that was one of them. And I've shared the story before, and I won't go through the whole story, but I had an elderly man that I started taking care of, and he ended up having these miraculous improvements, unbelievable. And he had come back one day, or I should say back, came into his adjustment. He was sitting out front after I adjusted him, and he was sitting there for like an hour. And Joe Verona's name was. And I go, Joe, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Long story short, he moved 5 years ago to Rochester, New York, which was almost 2 hours away. He would take a bus to come to my office to get adjusted. And I think I told you that story before, but I remember leaving him after he said, no, 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 doc, you know, I started with you, changed my life. It gets me out of the house. I love the staff. I love you. I'm going to finish my life with you, you know, and I get emotional when I even think about it. But that was one of those moments where I went back to the next person to adjust. And I felt the enormity of what and who I was for probably the first time as a chiropractor. Like I felt awesome. I felt, you know, powerful in a way that I was influencing, but then I also felt ashamed and guilt because I was like, wow, am I doing enough? Am I being present with everyone I touch? who else is driving here for hours or spending a fortune to come in? Am I giving them my all? Am I trying to get through them? Am I connecting each time I adjust them? And it was one of those moments where it really sat with me. It still sits with me, but probably for a week where I felt both good and guilty, great and ashamed. And it made me a better chiropractor, it made me a better man, human being, every level, that simple experience.
Well, that's because your humanity had to rise up to your divinity, right?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
those
There you
fears and
go.
doubts are in your head. That's your humanity, and the healer was your divinity. Okay, so I got 3 questions I got to ask. We're in a limited time, so I knew the spine and nervous system. I didn't learn at LACC, but I learned it through seminars. So, but when I went to DE right after I graduated, then I heard the principal. And the first time I heard the principal, I remember where I was standing in the midst of, 2,000 people. And I
Yeah,
got it. And I said, this is a message for humanity. I said those words so loud in my head, I might have even said them out loud. And then, like you, once I got it, my goal was never to build a practice. My goal was to change healthcare. And
yes,
because the goal is so much bigger than trying to build a practice, that we built a volume practice. And it's not that we wanted to build a volume practice. It's just that when it's a message for humanity, you have to bring your kids. You're an energetic being. And then if these patterns pass through generations, who'd you get it from? Who are you giving it to? And even if you bring your kids, I got an immediate family, and that's the problem, people get satisfied.
correct.
But you have an aunt with MS. You have a niece or nephew that's getting vaccinated and on antibiotics. So because you may get the family, what did we do? Did you affect generations? What do you say to those kids? So that's the next question, is what type of patient do you want to create? Because, we want to build a practice, but people that go in there, and there's management groups that are focused on the close. If you're focused on getting a patient started and closing them, and that's your biggest concern on day one, you're going to get them one at a time. And that's why you struggle. You're probably not going to have an 800 plus PBA because you're focused on one at a time. You're creating a patient.
You
Now,
know,
this is
go ahead, go ahead.
well,
No,
the
go ahead.
mantra in his elite, we don't create patients, we create purpose-driven leaders. I want to
Yes,
create a patient that doesn't need to be a chiropractor, but they think and act and live like one.
yes. You know what, and again, I say this, I'm not trying to slam other people, and I know everyone has weaknesses. Some people are better at business, some people are better at
Oh,
communication.
yeah.
I get it, I get that. And so I hear some of the other groups out there and teaching you how to close and all that. And I'm not saying there aren't strategies there, so I
No, they
don't
help a
want to
lot of
dilute that.
people.
But my point is that what, just like you're saying, you look at that and people look at that's the answer. My attitude is, if you can't close them, using that terminology, you're not going to keep them. And if you learn to just close them, but you don't learn the principle, they're never going to stay. So the idea that, oh God, I got 90% to sign on a care plan, I appreciate that. You're doing better. But the bottom line
Absolutely.
is, if you're not owning something, giving them a reason to be there when the reason they came in with is gone, they're gone. You got to give them a reason bigger than what they came in with. So if they're coming in with back pain and you don't leave back pain, they're gone. If they're coming in with back pain, they get better, they're gone. They don't get better, they're gone. They get worse, they're gone. You got to give them a reason beyond and bigger in order for them to stay, pay, and refer and bring their family. If you're not conveying that on a consistent basis, doesn't mean they're all ready to drink from the cup. But if you're not willing to do that, you are always going to have that revolving door. You're going to be bringing a whole bunch of people. Hey, my Facebook's great. I'm closing a bunch. But when I track my dropouts, oh my God, everyone's leaving 14 to 22 adjustments in.
or 40 or
Okay,
50
you got to get people coming in 80, 90, 100 times. You want to
plus.
explode your practice. Plus, absolutely.
Yeah, and so here's the thing, that's and how you wire them on day one, man. I mean, you can learn, they can agree, like in Elite, we had the perfect day one, day two boot camp. They're agreeing, all right, on day one, that chiropractic healthcare lifestyle. Now, here's the
Correct.
problem. So there's probably a lot of principled people on here that you're not dealing with pain. So you're just saying, "Oh, we're not doing that because we have people that come because of health." Well, that could be healthcare. Now, I did that, right? Healthcare, what's that mean? Your asthma got better. Chiropractic, so your asthma gets better. And that's another problem because healthcare is you have a problem, even if chiropractic helps organ problems, when the organ problem's gone, they're gone. So yeah, chiropractic cure my asthma. Now, how many people have you come in? And well, I've been, I went to chiropractic when I was a kid. Yeah, my grandmother took me because I had asthma.
Yes.
Well, did your asthma go away? Yeah. Did you continue to go? No, I haven't been in 30 years. Why?
Correct.
Because I don't have asthma.
Correct. Because I brought me because I had asthma. That's
Right.
the problem.
That's healthcare. That's
Right.
not healthcare lifestyle. That's
Correct.
not a lifestyle. So
100%.
here's where, when you look at it, you want to create a leader that lives chiropractic and brings in their family and speaks to generations. Your goal isn't to use chiropractic to heal them a disease. Your only goal is, how do they get the disease?
Correct.
They never lived a chiropractic lifestyle. That's the only
They
problem you're
neglected it.
solving. So your corrective programs are just health recovery.
Totally. Exactly.
And so
And it's
once
not
you
even health.
recovered,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Say what you're saying.
well, once you recover, day one of the rest of your life is when all those health problems are gone.
Right.
That's day one. Day one isn't when they start a program.
Correct.
That's just repairing the damage because they only have one problem, right?
Right. And it's
And then
reducing the damage, right? I mean, that's why I would say, like, when you eliminate something, you've reduced the damage, but you haven't
right.
corrected it. Most likely you're never going to correct the subluxation. You're going to reduce the subluxation, but you're never going to correct it. But the bottom line is, that's why I'm not a fan of hierarchy with care. I mean, I love Bill Esteb, but they use those charts. Here's the problem. We say, we use the words like initial intensive. Oh, you know what I mean? Then we go to corrective. Okay, doesn't have the same edge to it. And now we're going through the worst billing for a movie. And then if you want, you could do maintenance care, wellness care. But the problem is the maintenance care, the wellness lifestyle, that has to be pitched as more important. Like, so that's where the profession's made a mistake.
Primary focus.
Right. In other words, hey, listen, Fred, we'll take care of you, but the verbiage has to be, hey, Fred, once we get you well, what's our job? We got to go back to the most important part of your care, and that's to keep you well. That's the wellness care. Because if we don't do that, what's going to happen? Well, then I'm going to get sick again. Right. In fact, the reason you got sick in the first place is because you weren't what? I wasn't taking care of myself. So if you use that logic, and you have to use it all the time because they're constantly going to go down allopathic crazy land. If you're using that terminology, that conversation, or what Fred teaches you, similar way, maybe some different words, different scripting, because you're always leading them. We're like Fred's saying, we're healthcare leaders. We're not healthcare providers. We're leaders. We're changing. If you don't give them an adjustment above the atlas, you are always going to be struggling to so-called grow a practice. If you realize your equal or more important adjustment is above the atlas and getting them to realize and think and express, holy Jesus, man, I'm telling you, 20 people will line up before you unlock the door. And I say that from personal experience.
Oh, absolutely. And then here's the thing, here's what we teach. There's three steps to lifestyle. One, energy has to get to matter. It's the universal law. We are a physical being. Energy has to get to matter. Now, how does energy get to matter? It goes to the spinal cord. That's your lifeline. Now, what blocks that energy? Spinal structure. If you want to call it your posture, that's it. So if your spinal cord is your lifeline that keeps every cell in your body healthy, do you think you should check your spinal structure?
Exactly.
There's your report of findings. How long did that take?
Right.
And then here's where you should be. Here's where you are. Are you getting energy to your body to keep you healthy? No.
Right.
So now you have 16 health conditions. See, people want to solve problems. They don't have health problems. They have health conditions because they have one problem, an energy problem.
Right.
What can an MD do about an energy problem?
Right. Stay in your lane, man.
Stay in your lane, man. That's it. But it just happens we got a big fat 6-lane highway.
You know,
It's a
that's what
big
one of
fat
the
lane.
analogies I use, and it's certainly not the only one, but let's say back pain, use back pain. So if I have back pain and I go in an aisle in the drugstore, right? And at the end of the aisle, there's the pharmacy, right? So I've got, what am I walking by? I'm walking by in non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, muscle relaxers, analgesic pain relievers. If I go to the back, I can get all of those at extra strength or narcotics. On the way to the pharmacy, I passed a chiropractor, a physical therapist, a massage therapist, an acupuncturist, a physiatrist, an orthopedic, a family doctor, my internist. See, so they're looking at this whole myriad and they're like, huh, what choice do I want to make in order to address this problem? And it's what Fred said. But if you make it what it truly is, an energy problem, I like to say intelligent energy because it's intelligent energy, then if you make it an intelligent energy problem, guess what? None of those places, nothing down the aisle and nothing in the pharmacy could take care of that. That doesn't mean those people don't have a place. That doesn't mean they don't offer some benefit. But the bottom line is, I don't want to put myself in there because now I'm competing with everyone. I want to be in a different aisle. I want to be in my own place where someone's like, hey, listen, there's only one way to reconnect my body, and that's going to a chiropractor. She's the
Yeah, man.
only one that does that. If
Well,
you
and
do
that's
that,
like when you're
you have a
going down
great
the
business.
store and the aisles are labeled. And it's like,
Right.
well, there's the skincare aisle, but I'm
Right,
looking for
right,
bottled water. You don't
right.
even go down the aisle, man. You
Yes,
go down the
yes,
aisle of what you're
yes,
looking for, right?
yes, exactly.
Oh, you're writing that one down. That's a good one,
No, no,
huh?
no. I'm always taking notes because I want to lose my space sometimes. If I want to say something, I get confused.
Yeah.
Then I
So
go down a
so
tangent. And I'm like, wait, what were we talking about? What was going on?
so let's give a
That's why I
review,
always say
man.
you can't drug your spine straight. You know, that's my
Yeah.
terminology. You can't drug it straight, you can't pill it straight, you can't acupuncture straight, you can't exercise straight, you can't stretch it straight, you can't massage it straight, right? You can't meditate it straight, you can't yoga it straight. Doesn't mean those things don't all have benefit. I can't nutrition it straight, I can't exercise it straight, I can't physical therapy it straight. But boy, the only way to do it is to get an adjustment. That doesn't negate those other things, but it just makes it clear. And it's so true. If these are crooked, you can't take anything to make them straight. You have to go to an orthodontist. This is under stress all the time for multiple reasons. It has to be manually checked and adjusted by hand in an effort to reestablish that neurologic energy connection. If you're not doing that, you're compromised and you're getting disorganized and you're getting sick.
Absolutely. So, one, what's your purpose, right? Our purpose was connect people with who God created them to be, and in that we can change healthcare. So you think that's big, but if you're changing generations, once they understand energy, health, intelligent energy to the body is your highest consciousness and health,
Correct.
then that automatically includes family. It automatically includes generations. All you have to do is teach them two questions in a consultation. Who'd you get it from? Mom, dad, right? Aunt, uncle. I mean, how many times you talk about people with hyperglycemia, you ask them about diabetes? Oh man, my uncle died of diabetes. My uncle has diabetes right now, right? So it passed through generation. The next question, who are you giving it to? Which child is just like you, right? So that automatically shifts healthcare. If your goal is to get their whole family tree, not just their immediate family, their whole family tree to break generational patterns. Think, well, I can't change healthcare, but if you break enough generational patterns on enough families, that's going to have a massive impact, bigger than you think. You are impacting healthcare. So, what's your purpose? Change healthcare, break generational patterns. What kind of patient you want to create? Someone that understands that their energy, their nervous system is a key, that all health, the foundation of all health problems are intelligent energy problems. And then what impact do you want to have? Do you want people that their whole family tree comes to you first? Do you want them to know that any disease in their family, they come, they're not coming for a disease, but they realize they have an energy problem and they start with, let's deal with the energy first and let's see what's left over. Unless you're in a life-threatening crisis, you need to get under medical care. But once you're out of the crisis, then you need to deal with the energy problem.
Exactly.
So
You
what
know, there's
impact?
two places I was writing, and so some of you guys have heard this before. It's language that Fred and I have used, but one of the words that D.D. Palmer used, he called it unitol, and he spoke about that in a lot of his early writings, and that was God unified in man, God and man. So the unification of God, the spirit, the energy, the intelligent energy, unified in matter. Because it has to be unified in matter, because as I say, if I disconnect the connection, if I take Fred and cut his cord in his body, and I take a machine and cut his spinal cord, and he's laying out in my front yard, he immediately, instantaneously, the instant that I cut that vital force, he goes into entropy. He goes into disorganization. Those little molecules, atoms, systems in his body immediately start to become disorganized. So force, intelligent force, is what? Forcing the entropy to go into a different direction. We're not going from disorganized diffuse, we're going to a highly organized system against the tendency of what the universe is. So I always think, that's what vital force is. And then number two, there was a great book called Giant versus Pygmy. Some of you guys, it wasn't a book, it was a brochure that BJ wrote. But in there, he talks a lot about, God being the giant, the innate intelligence, the infinite within man, and pygmy is us. We're the educated mind. And that's what he meant by that. So you have God, the unbelievable mindset, and then you have pygmy, which is the idea that, hey, there's an educated mind, and the educated mind then is limited in its full understanding or full potential, and therefore it's not going to be able to fully express. So those are great places to go. Those are great analogies that our leaders actually put forth to help us understand what it is we're doing, because we don't get it. It's easy to go to the office. And Fred, this is why we do events. This is why it's important to go to the boot camps, why it's important to go to our events, because if not, you're practicing on an island. You come back from an event, you're all fired up, and geez, 3 months, 6 months later, you start to get kind of diluted. You got to go back and start dipping back in the well, because if not, you're like, how the hell did I end up in an allopathic practice? How did all that happen? Because you weren't drinking from the well. That's so important,
Absolutely.
so
And
critical.
so then when you look at, okay, what impact, I was on a call the other day and it's like, okay, if universal energy and innate intelligence is a universal law, it's God within man, then that means, and this, the old one-liner from years ago, I move the bone, God does the healing.
Right.
And here's where, because our title is doctor, we think we have to have all the answers. Like, if I don't
Right.
have an answer for the patient, then, I don't look good, blah, 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 blah. But how many
Right.
MDs, patients go to MDs for years, they come to a chiropractor, their diseases are healed, they go back to their medical doctor, and their medical doctor doesn't know how that happened. Well, it's spontaneous healing, right?
Right.
So why? Because you can't know everything how your body's going to heal. No
Correct.
man can explain healing,
Exactly.
because every disease known to man has had a spontaneous healing in someone when they just shifted their consciousness,
Correct.
let alone get adjusted, let alone anything else.
Correct.
So when you say I move the bone, God does the healing, I can't tell you every step of how your cancer might go away, is going to go away. But I do know one thing. I do know that I have a very convicted message. I do know that I have mastered my clinical skills. And I do know when I adjust you, whatever you have is going to go away. I believe that regardless, because you don't put God in a box. Now,
Right.
if you get the patient to believe that, it's very rare that those health problems don't get better.
Yes.
Maybe some of them don't get better as fast as you want. But there is a limitation of physical matter. But then what's the belief system of the patient, right? And
Correct.
so that's the whole thing. It's like, I move the bone, God does the healing. I don't heal any disease. I don't do, I'm nothing. I'm just a vessel
Correct.
and a servant. And I will give you that adjustment with divine love.
Well, you're better connected than disconnected, right? You're better. I mean, in the end, that's the end, right? You're better connected than disconnected.
I don't know what God's plan is and what your plan is in your life or what your purpose is. But what I do know is God's will for you probably isn't being subluxated and sick.
Right. Straighter's better than crooked. Straighter's
Yeah,
better than crooked.
Yeah. Otherwise, he wouldn't have sent you here.
Exactly.
So if my clinical skills are great and my belief is unwavering, then we become hands-on healers. And the mechanics is an adjustment.
Exactly. Boom.
Done.
Awesome. Fred, we got a big event in Fort Lauderdale. We'll be thinking of you.
Where is it? I mean, when is it?
It's this weekend. Thursday, Friday,
Oh,
Saturday.
dude, man. Yeah, call Joe. Well, you're going to get this after the event.
Yeah. Well, we're there.
Call Joe anyway, but I'm just saying,
we'll be thinking of you. I know you've been to a few of ours. We've been to a few of yours, so we'll be thinking of you.
Yeah,
I might have to drop a few Fred DiDomenicos from the stage, so.
Yeah, I always drop Joe Boreos.
I know.
In fact, I tell my clients they need to listen to this, and they're dropping Joe Boreos.
ChiroMafia, like, baby.
Yeah, I saw this on a podcast, man. I said it, and I got a check. And they got it, and they brought their kids in. I'm like,
hallelujah, hallelujah.
If that dude's lips are moving, you need to say the same thing. Absolutely.
That's funny.
Hey, dude, I'm your biggest fan, man. I know you have
right
a lot
back at you, Freddie.
Dude, I am your biggest fan.
Right back at you.
Yeah, it's all good. All right, you guys, we're on a little bit of a short time frame. This was short. Hey, it was fueled with rocket fuel. It's fueled with divine enlightenment.
Absolutely.
And the principle is a spiritual principle. The more spiritually evolved you are, the more your practice will grow.
100%.
That's what I always say. Your spirit grows the practice and systems handle the flow.
Exactly right.
Yeah. All right, guys. Love you. Thanks, Joe. Love you, man.
Yep. Love you too, Fred. Talk to you soon.
All right. Peace.